Everybody, welcome to this call of IntMeDA members. We've got the pleasure actually to host Anne-Marie uh, from Amazing Hall. And Anne-Marie is a professional certified storyteller. And as we are in the business of medical devices, we all know that medical device, healthcare business is lots about stories and relations, and how we able to pass the message about clinical benefits, features, benefits of the products, differentiations, and so forth to the customers to drive their behavior change. And therefore, I felt it would be great to have Anne-Marie to walk us through today's session with her amazing approach. Anne-Marie, it's yours.
Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the video, and then I will share the screen.
Sure.
So can you see my screen?
Yeah, I see it.
So thank you for letting me speak here today. I'm really looking forward to it. And I just gave you my short story about Amazing Hall, but I'll just give you a bit about my background as well, so you know who it is actually that is speaking. So my name is Anne-Marie Hall, and I'm a strategic partner for healthcare businesses within medical device and consumer healthcare. My background is long. It's about 25 years now within branding and marketing, and primarily within healthcare. And I started this journey as a marketing assistant back in 1996 at GN Sound, where I was communicating to the European distributors about visual identities and helping them with advertising material and so forth. And I was really lucky for that first position that I worked with visual identity and I worked with rebranding. So that was one of my very first projects in marketing, and I have actually utilized all that experience I got from there and have brought it further. Then I've been a European product manager for Cook Medical within diagnostic and interventional, where I've been really fortunate to work with product launches and with product innovation, really close together with the research and development department, initiated workshops throughout Europe, have had KOL symposiums, and had a lot of workshops, product training in hospitals throughout Europe. So that was the medical device, and then I worked for GSK as a Nordic shopper marketing manager, where I was helping with all the communication and messaging to the Nordic pharmacies within the different brands, and helping again with the product training and the sales managing and how to come across with the message and how to build the brand. And then I've had a Nordic OTC brand and trade marketing manager, where again I had the opportunity to work with a very established brand, again helping them building the features around the brand, product training, doing the messaging, relation building with the pharmacies and so forth. And then I decided in 2017 to take all of the knowledge that I've gotten there together with my passion, which is entrepreneurship. And I have helped entrepreneurs here in Denmark for many years now, since 2006, helping them communicating their messaging and their projects so they actually could thrive. And that is what I'm doing with Amazing Hall. So just to give you a bit of my background. So as Jiri said, I'm a true storytelling trainer, now certified. I'm a branding and marketing expert, and I work with concept building, product launches, business development, and marketing strategies. And let's hit it then for what you came to hear. So it's branding and storytelling within medical device distributors. And one of the first things that I want to address is what is branding, because we all have different perceptions of what branding is. And some say that it is a product messaging to customers and all the visuals surrounding it, such as logo, colors, images, product communication. And that your most important task and action is to identify and communicate value proposition to your customer. I just have a different approach because I say that branding is what people have of perception when they think or hear of the product and you. So what is it actually that they also always will remember? That is, what is the feeling that you gave me in that situation? So where should you focus when you brand your product? When it comes to medical device, we can make a very, very simplified product journey, that the product is being manufactured and then it is distributed through a distributor such as yourself, and then it comes out to the customer, which is the hospital. But underneath these touch points, there's multiple layers. So I will go in a bit about the manufacturer, but of course it's more important to talk about the distributors and the different departments that you have underneath in your layers, such as sales team, customer service team, shipping team, and so forth. And also when it comes to the hospital, that you have the hospital administration, you have the doctors, you have the nurses, you have the assistants, and you also have the health authorities. So there's always multiple paths in the branding. So it's not just one straight line, but there's actually more people involved as such, or more layers. When you look at the branding path and it comes to the manufacturer would think, when they have the connection with the distributor, what is it that they actually are looking for, their top priority? Well, that is the evidence of engagement. They want to be absolutely sure that they know that you are helping them building their sales. And how can you do that? Well, by being continuing building up the relationship with all the information that you need, reach out to them when you need anything, and continue giving them information on what is going on with what you're doing. So they're very interested in progress with the sales as well, and which activities that has been initiated, so they know that you are working on it and that they really want to support you. Because what will happen then is that every single time that there is a new information about the product, anything, they will always have you in mind, because you will have this really close relation. And there can be some distributors where they do that, where they more have like a delivery service relation within the manufacturer and themselves. But where you really find fruit and where you find growth is where you have a close relation, and where you have this, not a day-to-day, but a weekly or bi-weekly communication with the manufacturer. And there's also the branding the opposite way. And this is from the manufacturer to the distributor, because what is most important for the distributor is to make sure the security. So they want to be absolutely sure that they have the product that the manufacturer provides, that is delivered with high quality of the product, and of course the delivery performance as well. So these are the top topics when it comes to the distributor manufacturer relation. Then when you look into the distributor, the internal, what I have experienced is that there's a lot of focus on the sales team. So when you actually start getting the product, you're very keen on educating the sales team, of course, about the product, the features, the benefits, the material, technical information, whatever you need. You are informing them about the procedure, the prices, the product codes, and of course you do this to enhance the branding and the engagement of the sales team. But in your company, you have more departments that actually could benefit from the branding and know more about it. And when you come to customer service, that's a very important department within medical device distributors as well. And the traditional communication here would be product codes and pricing, because then they're off and they can order the product and everything is aligned. But what you then often do not get is the engagement and the support, and especially not if you are competing with other products. You know, often there is an internal competition amongst the sales and who actually get the attention of the customer service, for instance. So here, if you help with the branding at the customer service and you actually educate them in the product, you will reach engagement and support from them. And the same goes with the shipping department. That have a lot of products, and perhaps they could have a challenge with your product, with that specific product. But if they know about how the product is used, or they know about the procedure, and they know just a bit more about it than that is just a product code, so they actually get a relation to what is going on, it will actually give you a much smoother access to the entire organization. Because people, they don't care what you know until you know that you care. And it's all about trust internal in the company, to know what is it that you have as a priority within the product, and what is it actually that helps. And often we forget, because we're so busy, that in the end it's all about patience. And it's all about doing something. That is also why we're in the business. This is actually because we want to help people getting better lives. And sometimes we forget that because we focus about product codes and product features and all that. But the emotional features is very, very important to remember. So when you come to the branding path at the hospital, so what you do when you have a product in the beginning, that is that you identify the hospital department that has that specific interest within the specific clinical approach for your product. So you will have two directions. Either you come with a product where it matches a general procedure product, and there you will be in a situation where you perhaps will compete when it comes to pricing, or it can be already established agreement, it can be old relations, it can be it could be something like that. Or you can also be in the situation where it's a more innovative technology that you actually introduce, where you wish to benefit the patient and the procedure. And here you look into safety, procedure enhancement, economy, savings, and so forth. And what is really, really important, no matter which route that you are taking with your product, is that you need to remember the entire ecosystem of the hospital. Because the traditional focus when it comes to branding is that we look at the doctors. And they are the ones that we actually focus about when it comes to create the awareness and to recognition of the product. But we often forget that there's a lot more people involved at the hospital that actually could benefit from knowing more about your product and where you can help building that relation. And that is the department nurses, so that you inform them about, well, how is it that I actually should, for instance, situate the patient in a specific procedure. What will be the best position, or how is it that the product is composed in exact that way? You know, go down to the details of what they actually need in order to make them feel safer and better about your product and the procedure that is according to your product. And it's also the assistants that if they approach you with product codes, or if they ask you about some technical information or whatever it is, then that you have that knowledge at hand and that you can help them. And the hospital administration, the product codes that you perhaps navigate in. So which specific procedure is it? Which specific indication is it? So that you guide them in helping them to be better at their work with what it is that they need. And the way you do that is that you actually make sure that you have all the material ready, that you have the product codes, that they are divided into the different indications, and that you help guiding as much as possible. So who are you as a brand? Well, there's several touch points. So there's the company, where the customers, they look at the service provided. They look at the delivery, and they look at the communication. And they look at the general communication, and they look at the sales communication. Then you have the product, and the product surrounds a lot of things. So that is the entire product range. It is the product price, it's the product material, it is the studies related to the products. It can also be doctors that is working with it. It's all the communication and all the information that you have around the product. And the more in depth you can get about the product, the better. But what is really, really important is that we have a tendency within medical device to talk a lot about our features and our benefits. And here it is super important to take it a step further and then look into procedures instead, and look into, okay, so how is it actually that I help you, doctor or nurse or whoever that it is that you stand in front of, with your task and with your challenge. So it's good that you have the products, benefits and features, but it's really important that you have all the things around it as well. And you have different ways that you actually can tune into to get that competitive advantage. So it's not always about product features and benefits. It can be other things that you can do. You know, perhaps it turns out that a competitor is out of stock with the product. Well, then you have the opportunity, or you have the possibility to actually deliver this product. Or perhaps that specific size of the product that is needed for that indication cannot be found anywhere else. Well, then you have it. So the more that you know about your customer and the data behind and the procedures and the indications, the better you are to actually help them making their daily lives better, or not better, but easier. And then there's you. And you are actually one of the most important touch points. because you bring information and you bring knowledge, but it's all about you. It's all what you have. It is also that you reply to emails. It is that you take the connection. It is that you have this give attitude that will help tremendously in building the relations. So it is so it's not all about that I come here to give you or to offer you something, but that you actually start building the relation. And the stronger the relation comes, the faster you actually will see that you will get an attraction towards the product, and also that they will remember you because you're there, you're present, you answer the emails. If they have some challenges, well, then you are there in an authentic way, and that will be remembered. And I will say that especially if you are a small company, the almost the better, because the small company, they have the opportunity to solve problems easier, because you don't need to go through this very big organizational structure that a lot of the big ones that they have. So you will sort it for the customer in question faster.
Mm.
So my message here is that the very strongest and greatest asset is you. And that is something that is very important to remember, because there you actually can continue bringing in knowledge, and all the knowledge that you also get will help you communicate better with your customer. So, and now I'm actually almost getting a bit into the storytelling. So the most beautiful art of storytelling, that is to listen. We have and I have been there as well. I've gone out to doctors and said, hey, you know what, listen to my product, it can do this and that, and you need to use it. But the very best way is to actually listen what they need. Where are they? And what is going on in their situation, and get all the information that you can get. And there, the better or the more in-depth information you get, the more you actually can help. So we are lucky because we can actually prepare before we go out to the customer, and that is that we can do our homework. So know the history of the product. And this can be from the very beginning of the product. So why was it actually that this product was innovated? What was it that you saw in, or your manufacturer saw, that there was a need, and that product could help specific within that indication? But it's also very important to know the history of your customer, to know your product sales, and to know the range of products used. So for instance, if you have your entire portfolio and you look at and what they're actually buying, and you can see, well, because there's always a hero SKU, there's always a product that is being sold more than others. And thereby it could be very interesting to go in and then say, okay, this product is sold at that hospital at a very high level, but I know that they also are doing this procedure that actually I have this product with just a smaller feature. Why aren't they using that? And then go in and be really specific about it, because that actually shows as well that you have a genuine interest for your customer, and that you know what they're doing out of the hospitals, what they're buying, and what you actually can help them with. And then another thing is that you need to be prepared so you can share your knowledge to whomever you encounter. So when you are on your way to the doctor and you have your head full of features and benefits and so forth, well, if you meet an assistant suddenly that comes and say, hey, what about that product code? What is the difference between that code and that code? Then you need to know and you need to tell them so you actually can help them in understanding the product a better. And then you have the opportunity to say, and why do you actually ask about that specific question? And suddenly you start to build the relation with that person. And you never know whom you're meeting and what they actually can do to help you enhancing the relation at the place where you are. And by doing that, being so prepared and going so in detail, you can let the story come alive. People, they get confused if there's no plot. For instance, if there's no focus in the product, and if there's no in-depth information of the product match procedure. So you need to be really detailed in what is the indication, what is it that the product offer, how is it that they help the patients, and go all the way actually to also say, so which patient group is this helping, if that's it, so go broad and go deep in order to make sure that you have a plot when it comes to the story that you have surrounded your medical device. No direction, no size fits it all. That is a very, very, very sure way to failure. That is if you say that your product fits it all, because it doesn't. And the more niche oriented that you can get in your product, the better, because then you can get the detailed information and you can make sure that you get the exact match and that you help your customer solving the solution, the problem that they stand with. And then another thing, and that is especially when you work within research and development, and you have the engineers that has come and have this beautiful product, then you dazzled away but all of the things it can do. But what it actually will do is that if you bring it forth and that has too much information, that it has too much complexity, and you inform about all the composition of the product, the material used, the drawings, whatever, then you actually lose them, because that is it's too complex. So what should always be your aim? Place, time, and matter. That's so important. That you are the place where you're needed, you are at the right time, and what you bring matters. It can be a bit tricky to find that place, but there is actually some things that you can do in order to help you finding that place. So I've written, always ensure there's place, time, and matter. And if there was, all our companies were booming and everything would be so good. So there is challenges, but you can help it along. And the way you can do is acknowledgement of other people and their situation. So where are they right now? Is this actually the time for you to come with your product, or is it the time for them that you come with the product? And if it is not, well, then it's okay to say, you know what, today it is not the best time, but if you're interested, I will be really pleased to come back, instead of pushing, because if you're pushing, you will actually start getting some kind of resistance. So it's much better to acknowledge where they are and leave it for now, and then make it at another time and a better opportunity. And that also is making room for the story already there. So finding out what is going on at that moment, and making room for it. So you leave it and you let it go, and then see if something other things actually will emerge from it. And then to be in the moment. And when I mean be in the moment, is that we sometimes can have a focus to look into the future, but there can be a situation, and we especially know this at the moment where we're all faced with COVID, that we need to be in the moment, and we need to accept the challenges we have, and we need to find out, okay, and we need to accept that this is what is happening, and then find another thing that we can focus on until the right moment will come for you again. When you find yourself in this place, then what you always could remember is to be Gandalf. And what do I mean by being Gandalf? Well, that means bring the solution. Find out what is it that they actually need, and have that targeted information for them. And one of the key things when it comes to medical devices is that you have the product procedure match. It is key for all that is involved within the medical device. Then you can bring the procedure education, and you can help them bringing more knowledge if you have it. It's very, very important also that you can bring updated studies if you do have that. If you have clinical studies, if it's you sitting as a manufacturer, make sure that you actually have this evidence and that you bring forth, so that they can see that you are continuing working on proving the evidence of the product and the safety for the patients. Then it's product training, it's knowledge sharing, and it's HCP information. So find out what is it that is important for that specific doctor to get of information, and then try and provide it for him or her. And also patient information. And especially in a time where we are getting more and more patient-centric, and where patients are looking for information. So if you can help the doctor providing information to the patient about the procedure, and I say about the procedure, I'm not saying about the product, because I need to be honest here, the patients, they do not care about the product. What they're worried about is the procedure. So when you do your communication to the patient, then it's the procedure that is the overview, and then you have small things about the product itself. And then a bit about timing. So when we talk about time, what do you think of? Well, very, very often what we think about is the chronological time. It is the linear time. I'm here, what I'm going to do next, what I'm going to do tomorrow. We look at our clock, but it can also be just in time. So that is that you deliver exactly when they need it, or it can be the seasons that it's for instance, if you work with a product where it is a seasonal product that is needed. So you never know what is the perfect timing, but you need to navigate in it and find out by just being and building the relation. So if you want people hooked, what do you do then? Well, you do the together telling. So instead of doing the presenting, telling, I have something that I want for you to use, you use the story that you build together with them, and you listen to them. And when you then find out that you can actually work towards a mutual goal, then you will have the together telling, because you're working together, and it will enhance the relation, which I think that relationship within medical device is the key in our entire journey. And then you stay in the present together with your customer, and you envision the future. And just like I forgot that slide, so that was why I said think in relation. But this is the key, that is to think in relation and think in dialogue, because that will build a partnership, and that will build so much trust and confidence in you and your brand and your story. And the more authentic you can get, the better. If you are in a situation where you don't know what is happening with the product, or whatever it could be, then be completely authentic and say, you know what, this has happened, I don't know what it is, but we're going to find out. Whatever situation it can be, or if there has been an email that has not been replied, or a price has increased, or whatever situation you have, then be authentic. By then you create trust and you provide confidence. And by providing confidence, you also provide confidence into your product. And then you can go with the flow and build it step by step together. So I actually I could talk a lot about everything, but we only have this short period of time. But what I have introduced for you here is not the how can you say, the traditional way of branding. This is a branding with a holistic approach. This is a branding where you embrace everything that is surrounded regarding the product and regarding the company. And it's so important, as you already know, but I'm also stating it here, always to be and come prepared and know your data and your detailed information. And then the deep listening, that you listen to what is being said, and that you're not persuading, you're not convincing, but you're listening and you take it in, and then you reflect and you see, okay, and how can I help you? By being Gandalf and being authentic, being present in the here moment, and let the story evolve as it needs to, and accept that this is the moment and that you need to go with the flow. So this was just a short storytelling and branding within medical devices. You're always welcome to reach out to me. If you want to connect, I'm on LinkedIn. If you just want to say hi, then you're welcome. So, but this was what I had from my heart around medical devices. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
It was really nice, and you know, keeping us in the present. Really appreciate it. Question for you: give us a few examples. Would you give us tips to look at the companies in medical device space which are generally very good in storytelling those days?
If I have tips for some that
you would say one or two, the leading companies in med device area which are good storytellers.
I would say that some of the big ones. So you know what? I think I will do it in a different way. I want to tell. Can I tell some stories from my own experience, because I think that is better. So I can inform you that when I worked with Cook Medical, I was in charge of their embolization product line within Europe, and that was not a story that was built around it at all. And we built a story, and the sales increased with 62% in 2 years. So we did really, really well. And the way that we did it was that we looked, because there was just a lot of embolization coils, and we looked at it and we said, exactly like I'm saying here, that we looked at, so which coil had that specific feature for that specific indication. and we made sure to communicate it. And then we found out that all of the coils, they had small fibers in order to the blood to clot. Or some of them, yeah, most of them they had, and then there were different sizes of fibers. And we found out that there could actually be a relation to, if you look at an image of a bird. And suddenly we built the entire image around birds and the vision, because all of the coils could be seen through MR. So we used an owl to show that that actually can see in the dark, right? So we used an owl to envision it, and then we made a really beautiful catalog where you had the story about how you could see the coils so clear, and that you had different indications to it. And then what we did as well was that we navigated them not only within the coils, but we also navigated in which guides to use, which catheter sizes to use. And that actually, so that helped them the entire journey through, and it made the sales really increase.
Thank you. And maybe this is a question for all the audience, from guys, ladies on the line. Whom do you see in the today's med device space as a good storytelling company? I for example, see ResMed. You might be aware of this Australian company on the earring devices, and super story towards the patient. Great kind of feel, what you were saying, Anne-Marie, what kind of the feeling you passing on.
Yes.
And the share price of the company is going through the roof. Yeah, maybe it's the kind of easiness of the Aussies, how they do those stuff. But any other tips, any other comments?
I believe that Pfizer has done a pretty good job with the vaccine, Comirnaty.
Yes.
They are having good communication towards the public. What I feel is quite a good storyteller, even not MD scene, is J&J. They always build a strong bond between families, mothers, and are more going towards consumer portfolio, even though they're MD company.
Yes, I can tell you that the GSK that I worked for, they were really good storytellers as well, to build testimonials from the patients, and to make sure that you had the quality of the patients that was on top, and then you had the products that they came further down the features and benefits. And then I will say that just some tips about storytelling and messaging. What is very important when you do the product messaging is always just to communicate three. Just three. People, they cannot remember more than three, and I know you love your products and you want to go do all the things they don't, because they can only remember three. So have three that is really sharp. That will be very good.
Great comment. Question then, Mary. How do you see the difference of the storytelling those days with the digital social media?
Oh, thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Okay, so I see a trend that we have become a bit tired of see me, hear me, because there's been too much about it at the social media. So people, they are hungry for listening to authentic approach instead, and that you're being super authentic, and that when you do your social media, that you do not go, this is us, listen what we can do, but you bring value. And you bring value by bringing knowledge, by education, all that you can think of when it comes to value. That is what they're searching for now, and that is what I think that is going to be the future. And especially because of all that automation, all that, where all the machines, everything, you just did a bit of squeaks and then you had a different messaging. People, they can see through it now. and they longing for authenticity and real human being with all that we have.
Love it. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, ladies and gentlemen?
My question is more from the side of the distributor manufacturer. Obviously, the regulatory side is going to play a very important part, especially from the distributor side of things. So how do you see that as, you know, at the beginning, you talked about the customer service and
yeah, but regulatory should have been in there, Jonathan. It should
feel that the
definitely.
regulatory is going to be a very,
absolutely.
very important part of the distribution.
It's very important, and you know, it's so funny because I have had so much focus on regulatory, but today I just forgot. But regulatory is key, and especially with the upcoming MDR. Right. So it's so important to have all the technical files established, that you actually have a package where you have the technical files, you have the instruction for use, you have the labels, you have the declaration of conformity, EU certificate, everything that needs to be, that is very, very important. Yes, very. I need to put that in the presentation.
Well, you know, a big part of my business is from the pharma side, and they look at regulatory first before any sales, I tell you, nowadays.
Yes, and it's so important. Yes. Anyone else?
Anybody else? Question for Anne-Marie? We are actually exactly on time. We were planning for 15 minutes for this regular call of IntMeDA members. So chance for last question. And the simple question is obviously if we can get the presentation, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, you can. I need to add the regulatory department. That's so important. Yes, you
Yuri,
can.
I've got a quick question. We've seen now, you told us how what would be a good way to bring your story or tell your story. How do you have a view on how do you should train your sales force in order to think and yeah, you know, operate like this?
Okay, so I have a whole I have a briefcase like this about how you train sales team, and especially with training, because it's so important that first of all that you gather all the data and all the information that you have about the product, and then you actually start building it from the more general perspective. So which patient group is it, which that you're looking at, which indication is it, and where is it specific that we help, and then you actually start building it from there. And then you have to focus on that it's not the product, but it's the relation. So there you help them with how they structure a meeting, you know, how they build a relation, key questions they can ask, and so forth.
Yeah, it's like making a landscape of the environment or
exactly
you're going to do. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And maybe just a comment to share on this, Royal. What I love is the Pixar storytelling concept for teaching the salespeople. You know, Pixar. What are the best stories? It's a fairy tales, right?
Yes.
And who's the best making money on the fairy tales? It's Walt Disney and Pixar. And there is actually a ton of the articles about it, how they chuck every story into 5 elements, starting with once upon a time and ending up, this is my solution. You know, so very simple, but very human, and it's kind of touchy. So I do recommend the Pixar storytelling concept.
Thanks.
If I can ask one question, please. On one of the slides, you mentioned touch points. So you balance the company, the product, and the individual.
Yes.
How do you balance the individuality of salespeople with the branding or the guidelines of the company?
Yeah. So that is to get the engagement and to be authentic the whole way through, as I see it. And you will always have the strong relation the sales team will have with that person. There is so important that you also make sure that you continuously get the feedback from the sales team back to the company, so you know what is going on as well.
Okay.
Definitely, yes.
Thank you.
I have a question. It's more of a challenge kind of for Anne-Marie. We are all aware of so-called elevator speech concept.
Yes.
How would you do elevator speech within 60 seconds? What are you doing? Who you are? What are you doing?
Because what I am doing?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm doing is that I help healthcare companies within storytelling and branding, and make sure that they grow as persons and as companies being authentic.
Cool. That was brilliant, because we are struggling with our salespeople to tell. They're supposed to tell in 1 minute what they are, and they are struggling with that. So you are helping companies to become better and more successful. That's awesome.
Yes, I am.
Thanks a lot.
That is my aim.
All right, any last question, guys? Well, if not, sorry, Marcelo.
Yes, Anne-Marie, I congratulate you for this presentation. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you.
And I liked very much the very first point you talked about. Speak with your heart, because if you speak with your heart, all that comes after that, if you're talking about a good quality products, obviously, it's a good way coming to your prospective customer's mind. And I think it will be very effective in that way. Talking about the storytelling, I'd like to share with you all a storytelling that I used to use in one of the previous companies I used to work for. It was a company dedicated to producing ICU ventilators, and the company was founded by an engineer and a medical doctor, and they were brothers. And the medical doctor used to be a surgeon in Argentina, and he used to have some problems in the 60s, in the 1960s, I mean, to ventilate his patients. And his brother was an engineer, and he was dedicated to producing ventilators, but not medical ventilators. He used to produce ventilators for the divers, for diving. So the doctor told his brother, if I give you some aspects or some specifications, could you be ready for us to make a company and create medical ventilators? His engineer brother said, okay, that would be a good idea. That's the starting part of the company. And I can assure you that this storytelling, as the first part of communicating with prospective customers, was very successful.
Yes.
All the times we used this communication with prospective customers that opened up their minds to know about this kind of product. So I'm a fanatic, I'm a fan of storytelling. What do you think about this kind of presentation of companies opening up the customer's mind with this kind of stories?
I love it. And that is exactly what I'm teaching the entrepreneurs as well, that I work together with, because often they forget the original story of why they actually invented the product. So when you have this entire story that you have as the one you present here, that is what people they remember. And then you take it off, then it's not just a product, then you have a completely story around it.
Yes, because I think, if you agree with me, you're creating an for of the story.
Exactly.
And that opens up minds to listen the rest of the part. Also
exactly. I can tell you a little story from one of the entrepreneurs I've been working with, because they were struggling how they should inform about the product. And I said, but how did you come up with it? And I said, no, you don't want to hear. I said, yeah, I do. And I said, well, it was my little boy that was playing with his Darth Vader sword, and then I had the light on the Darth Vader sword, and we had the light on underneath his hand, and then I discovered inside his, and I was like, what? Why doesn't this story exist anywhere? You know, and then they started using it, and it went really well because everybody, they remembered this story. You know?
They remember this story, and through the story, they will remember you, and if they remind you, they will remember your products.
Exactly. I have another story where they did not know how to differentiate. And I said, but how did you come up with it? And he said, yeah, but it was like I was peeling this orange. And then I found out the composition of that orange by peeling it. And I could see, and I was like, why don't you have that in your story? You know, there you are, just you show such a differentiation. And then your product is not just a product, you know, then you build a story and people remember. And I think that's the most important thing, that is to create the memory and the feeling around it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks a lot, Anne-Marie. Thanks again. Well, 1 hour behind us, so maybe to conclude,
yes.
Very inspirational. Once again, I have dozens of notes here for myself. And for those who would like to maybe go through the presentation again or through the webinar, we will post it on the member section of the website, of the IntMeDA website. So they'll be posted there pretty soon. And maybe just to remind you, you can also see there all the recordings from the IntMeDA eFair that happened earlier. And maybe one last thing at the end. Next month, you can look forward to another webinar focusing on the upcoming FDR, and we will once we will finalize the details, we'll share the agenda and all the details.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. That was excellent. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.